amongst themselves. You had World War I, which was a major war. They refer to it as a war to end all wars. Now, we did a special that you can see if you go to YouTube and you go to Melis Archives. And I think it's the first series on that site on YouTube. And it's entitled An In-Depth Focus on Revelation, the 9th chapter. And it showed you there was this one battle that they had that lasted for almost a year. It was called, what was the name of it? The Battle of Verdun. And they were just dying left and right, man, for a small patch of land for about 9 months. So these Edomites were killing each other. Go ahead.
It says, and there was given unto him a great sword.
What's that great sword? Matter of fact, look up the word sword. Let's see what that means. Because in the ancient world, during the time of the Romans, the Greeks and the Romans, their power was the sword. Their power were bow and arrows. Their power was the spear. Then they learned how to use catapults. Now they have then they had cannons. Now they have missiles. So that's their sword. A sword is a killing instrument. In this case, the modern day sword is what? The missile. Go ahead.
Yeah, the Greek word there is
Strong's G 3162, machera. Machera.
which means a large knife used for killing animals and cutting up flesh, a small sword as distinguished from a large sword, a curved sword for cut and stroke, a straight sword for thrusting. That's it.
Is there a Hebrew word? You can click on the Hebrew form of sword. If not, you know what? Go to the sidebar and put sword, and then click, and then go scroll down. No. On the blue letter itself. Put in the word sword on the sidebar right there, and then click on it, and then get an Old Testament scripture of sword, and then read and get the definition for the word sword in the Hebrew. And there's got to be plenty of them. Got it? All right, go ahead.
Yeah, this is from Genesis 34 and 25, where it mentions the word sword. And we're going to look it up in the Hebrew. The Hebrew word there for sword is charab, which means sword, knife, sword, tools for cutting stone, sword.
Well, as we know, a sword, the modern day sword, would be a missile, a gun. It cuts. A gun cuts you. All right, go ahead.
This is Genesis 27 and 38. And Esau said unto his father, Hast thou but one blessing, my father? Bless me, even me also, O my father. And Esau lifted up his voice and wept. And Isaac his father answered and said unto him, Behold, thy dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth, and of the dew of heaven from above. And by thy sword shalt thou live, and shalt serve thy brother.
Now let's go back to where we left off in Revelation.
Revelation chapter 6, verse 5. And when he had opened the third seal, I heard the third beast say, Come and see. And I beheld, and lo, a black horse. And he that sat on him had a pair of balances in his hand.
Now the word balances, I want the brother to look it up, the elder to look it up. The word balances actually mean a yoke. And it's synonymous with the word slavery. So the black horse represent the time when we came over here to this country to serve slavery. Actually go to Joel, the 3rd chapter, and the 3rd verse. And when we went into slavery under this man, we had to work for this man by the power of the whip. If we didn't want to work, we got whipped, or we got killed, or we got a limb cut off, or we got the hell beat out of us. Now, if you have a bunch of slaves, you got to keep the slaves alive. So you got to give them water, and you got to give them food, and you got to give them shelter. So the only reason why we got shelter and food and water from this devil is why? To keep us going so we can keep working for this devil. All right, go ahead.
Yeah, the Greek word there is
Strong's G 2218, Zugas. Zugas.
which means a yoke that is put on draught cattle. Metaphor used of any burden or bondage as that of slavery. That's it. Of troublesome laws imposed on one of the Mosaic law. Hence the name is so transferred transferred to the commands of Christ as to contrast them with the commands of the Pharisees, which were a veritable yoke. Yet even Christ's commands must be submitted to, though easier to be kept. Number 2, balanced pair of scales. Yoke, pair of balances. That's it.
Yeah, so the word balance in Revelation, the 6th chapter, really means yoke. And it's synonymous with the word slavery. Because did not they put a yoke of iron? You got that in Deuteronomy? Yeah, hold that in Joel. Give me Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter and the 47th verse.
Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 47. Because thou servest not the Lord thy power with joyfulness and with gladness of heart, for the abundance of all things, therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies, which the Lord shall send against thee, in hunger and in thirst and in nakedness and in want of all things. And he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he have destroyed thee.
Yeah, so the yoke of iron, if you go to any slave reference, go to the illustrated section of Google, look up the word slavery, Negro slavery, American slavery, you're going to run into a handful of pictures of Israelites in hardcore slavery under Esau with a yoke of iron around his neck. So that black horse represents the fact that we came over to this country because this was the dark time of Israel. This is the lowest form of Israel, man. When we went, the lowest form of the punishment that the Most High put on us was when we first came over here to the Americas. And then later it spoke about the Latin tribes, but Jake caught it the most up here in America in hardcore slavery. Right, that's why David referred to this place as the Valley of the Shadow of Death, which is America. Valley means a low land. All right, go ahead.
Verse 23. And thy heaven that is over thy head shall be brass, and the earth that is under thee shall be iron. Joel 3:3. And they have cast lots for my people, and have given a boy for an harlot, and sold a girl for wine, that they might drink. Yea, and what have you to do with me, O Tyre and Zidon, and all the coasts of Palestine? Will ye render me a recompense? And if you recompense me, swiftly and speedily will I return your recompense upon your own head. Because you have taken my silver and my gold, and have carried into your temples my goodly pleasant things. The children also of Judah and the children of Jerusalem have you sold unto the